Nor does the history of the Alps end there. No, no, no! The greatest tale associated with these mountains is that of Hannibal crossing them. You heard that right. The war elephant rider from North Africa managed to cross one of the most treacherous mountain ranges in the world with his war elephants. How? Well, according to history, Hannibal's army crossed the Alps in winter. And you know what they say about the Alps, that if you want to see the true beauty of the mountains, you have to experience it in the winter. But this beauty can turn deadly in an instant, and for Hannibal, it almost did. The year was 218 BC. The Second Punic War had been raging for 3 years between Rome and Carthage. And up until now, the story was all Rome's. They had defeated Hannibal's armies in Spain and were now marching into Africa itself. But Hannibal had a trick up his sleeve. He led the Romans into a trap by pretending to retreat into the very heart of the African continent, where Rome had no hope of following him. This plan was as brilliant as it was audacious. All that Hannibal needed now was to raise an army in Africa, march it over 4,000 miles across the Sahara Desert to the Atlas Mountains, and then over the Alps into Italy. But how could an army, especially one with war elephants, survive the journey through the Sahara and then over the snow-capped Alps? But Hannibal was no ordinary general. He managed to get his army to the foothills of the Alps by keeping them constantly on the move. His army lived off the land, surviving on whatever they could find to eat. And when they finally reached the Alps, they were famished. There was snow everywhere, but little food. The soldiers' morale was at an all-time low. They wanted to go home. They sent a message to their Carthaginian generals asking to be relieved from duty. But Hannibal would not accept defeat. He set out to conquer the Alps, and nothing would stop him. We don't know exactly how he did it, but according to some historians, Hannibal managed to keep his men and elephants going by promising them food and wine at the top of the mountains. And boy, did that do the trick. According to Plutarch, the war elephants, who had been weary from the long journey, suddenly found new vigor in them and managed to climb up the steep mountain passes with the help of Hannibal's men. When they finally reached the summit, they were greeted by a sight that made all their hardships worthwhile. The entire valley below was blanketed in white. It was a sight that took their breath away, but they didn't have time to take in the view. Hannibal wasted no time in making camp and sending messengers to the waiting armies in the plains below. Within days, his exhausted troops were marching into the plains of Italy, followed by their war elephants.